Well, hi everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to be part of our safeguarding training. I just want to take a few moments right at the start to answer an important question, which is, why is safeguarding important for us as a church? You see, it would be very easy for us to answer that by saying, well, it's a legal thing that we have to do as a charity, or even an administrative task, something that we need to tick off a few boxes on. However, I think when we look into the Bible and we look at the nature of God, we see that safeguarding has a way bigger and more important implication for us as a church. And I just want to take you to three simple passages in the Bible that illustrate this for us. In Deuteronomy 10, verses 17 to 19, it says this: "For the Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great, mighty and awe-inspiring God, showing no partiality and taking no bribe. He executes justice for the fatherless and the widow and loves the resident alien, giving him food and clothing." Here in these verses, we see how God is separating himself, making himself distinct from the other gods of the nations that surrounded Israel at the time. And the way that God does that is by saying that he's on the side of the most vulnerable in society. He's on the side of those that would easily be overlooked within society. Safeguarding at its heart is about being on the side of the most vulnerable, those that could easily be overlooked within the church community. The second verse that I'd like us to look at is Micah 6 verse 8, and this says this: "Mankind, he has told each of you what is good and what it is that the Lord requires of you, to act justly, to love faithfulness and to walk humbly with our God." Now, this is a really well-known verse of scripture that talks about God's care for the most vulnerable, but the thing that I want you to notice is how this verse doesn't just say that we should think about justice or that we should have a feeling about faithfulness. This verse talks about acting, it talks about doing. And safeguarding, if it's going to work well in a church, requires that each one of us acts, each one of us are diligent, each one of us has our eyes open to what's happening around us. Safeguarding involves all of us, and I want to encourage us, let us be like these people in Micah who act justly for those that are vulnerable, those that could easily be exploited. The final verse is from Mark 12 verse 28 to 31, and it says this: "One of the scribes approached. When he heard them debating and saw that Jesus answered them well, he asked him, 'Which command is the most important of all?' Jesus answered, 'The most important is, Listen, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is, love your neighbour as yourself. There is no other command greater than these." These verses speak about the two-dimensional relationship that we have. Firstly, we have this vertical relationship with God where we express our love to God in worship and adoration and praise. And yet this verse also says that we have responsibility on a horizontal level for the people around us, that we express love to them. And in many ways, the love that we express to those around us really is an authenticator that we love God. If we're saying we love God and yet we allow the people around us to be neglected, we're questioning how authentic our love is for God. And so again, I want to encourage us as a church community, caring for those around us, looking out for the children, looking out for the vulnerable adults, looking out for the ex-offenders who may want to come and be part of this church community. It isn't the responsibility of just a few, it's the responsibility of all of us that we express love, not just vertically to God, but also to those around us. So, church family, can I encourage you and us as we look to build safeguarding into the way that we practice everything that we do as a church? Can I encourage you to be vigilant? Can I encourage you to think about the material that you're going to be learning on this training, and let us express God's love for the most vulnerable which may be amongst us. Enjoy the rest of your training.